So again, we might have a bunch of kind of random points here. And a line of fit is going to kind of represent them. We're just going to kind of estimate it. But then there's a line of best fit that we may have to use other calculations for, or we might even have to use our graphing calculator to find the actual line of best fit. And then the last thing is this correlation coefficient. This is the value that the calculator will give us. It's r squared. It's always going to be a value between 0 and 1, and it represents how linear the points are. See, my points here, I can kind of tell you what r squared would be. R squared would probably be about 0.8 for that, because they're not in a straight, complete line. But if those dots were in a completely straight line, it would have a correlation coefficient, an r squared value of exactly 1. Okay? So, we all are pretty good at this right here, writing the equation of a line. We have our slope-intercept form that we can use. We have our point-slope formula we can use. And if we're given 2 points, we can find the slope, and then we can use the point-slope form with either one of these 2 methods. All right, I'm going to actually show you how to do this on your calculator instead of doing it by hand. Okay? So we're going to be going to our graphing calculator. You're going to turn it on, of course. Anything you have showing, hit clear. If you don't have your calculator with you, make sure you get one. Now you're going to go to your stat. So push your stat button right here. It's right below the delete key. And you're going to go to edit. So you're going to hit enter. If there's anything in there in L1 and L2, you want to go up to the very top and you want to hit clear, enter. Most of you probably don't have anything in there if it's your own calculator. So we're now going to put in these points. So here are the points, L1 and L2. L1 is always our x's, so we're going to put 5 and 3 in there. L2 is our y's, so we're going to put in -2 and 6. So I'm going to go in L1, I put in 5, 3, I arrow over. Into L2, I'm going to put in -2 and 6. Now I have to quit because I need to get out of that screen, so I'm going to do second quit. Remember how those are called points, and they're located under the statistics. So see right here where it says stat plot? That means plot your statistics, and that's what we want to do. These points are basically statistics. So go to second, y equals, and we're going to push enter, and we're going to turn on our stat plots. So if it's off, go to on, push enter. We're always going to use a scatter plot, which is the first type. Everybody with me? You got to do second y equals. Second y equals. And then push enter. Are you seeing the screen? Yep.
You said the closer the R2 value is to 1, the more you use.
Right. Everybody seeing this? Anybody need help? All right, so we have these on now. So now we're going to do a graph. Well, let's go to y equals first. Go to y equals. If you have anything in there, clear it out so you don't see random things. And now hit graph. And you should see those 2 points. Do you see those 2 points? Okay. Now we're going to have the calculator come up with a line that goes through those 2 points. So I'm going to do second mode. That's going to quit, take me to my home screen. I'm going to go to stat. I'm going to go over to calculate now. Now we wanted to come up with what's called a linear regression. Which one do you think that is? Number 4 is linear regression. So we're going to push enter, and then we want the calculator to calculate it. If your calculator doesn't look like this, just push enter, enter, and it should come up with an answer. If it does, go down to calculate, hit enter, and here's what you might see. How many of you do not have r squared showing? Okay, so we have to turn on our diagnostics, and you'll only have to do this one time. Is everyone seeing the same A and B value? Great. Okay, so we're going to turn on our diagnostics. It's located under the catalog. So you're going to go second, 0, and this lists everything on our calculator, A to Z. I don't want to sit here and arrow down, so I want to jump to the D's. So you see how that letter D is right there? Just push that button, D, and you jump down to the D's. And we're going to go down to diagnostic, on, push enter, and push enter one more time. You'll never have to do that part again because it's on for good. Okay, now let's go back, let's clear, and let's calculate it one more time so you see the R squared. Stat, calculate, linear regression, enter, go down to calculate, or just push enter again. And see how it says R squared is 1? That means they're exactly linear. And they have to be, they're 2 points. They would have to be linear. So now that's telling us that the equation, they don't use M, they use A. The equation of this line is y equals negative 4x plus 18. Now we're new at this, so that took us a long time to do on the calculator, but when you get good at this, you can do that in just like a couple seconds. You can come up with the equation of a line. And you can go ahead and use that to check work. If you've done it by hand, then you can check it on here. I want you to go to y equals though, and I want you to put that line in. Negative 4x plus 18. And now push graph. And see how that's the line that goes through those 2 points? And so we know that we have the correct line. Okay? Anybody have questions? All right, let's do one more like that, but now we're going to have more than just 2 points. So I want you to come over to, you have some space over here, and you're going to have to make this chart yourself. Actually, let's turn it the other way. It makes it easier if it's the other way. So on page 16, where you have some open room, just create this chart. We're going to have to go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And for our L2s, our Y values, 27, 43, 58, 74, and 90. So we want to be able to put these into our calculator, and it would be very difficult for us to find a line that goes through all of those points in a really good way. This is just your open space on page 16, guys. That's not in your book. I typed that myself. Okay, so now again, where do we go to put in the points? What is it under? Stat. Edit. So push enter. Clear out what you got. Clear, enter. Up to the top, clear, enter. Type in all those X's. When you get to 25, push enter, and then arrow over to the second list. Okay, everybody got them all in? I want to check at the end to make sure I have the same number. It's going to give me an error message, and I do. So now I have to quit. Anytime I want to go to a different screen, I have to quit. Second mode. Now I'm back to the home screen. Now, I want to see those points, so I'm going to hit graph, but I'm telling you right now, we're not going to see them. And I want you guys to think of why we might not see them. Yeah?
Because it's zoomed in too far and you want it to do it.
Exactly. When I look, what am I seeing here? What's that? That's my line, my leftover line from last time. I'm going to get rid of that one. Go to y equals, clear that out. If I want to see those points, I have to go to my window. See window right there? That's basically telling me the dimensions of the screen right here. The window is the screen. My X's are going from 5 to 25. So if I'm setting up this window, I might want to make it go from like 0 to 30 for the X's. The X scale just means how far apart. We're always going to leave that at 1. For my Y's, they're going from 27 to 90. So I'm going to make these Y's go from like 25 to maybe 95. Now when I hit graph, look what happens. There's my points. You see what I mean? We could not see them on the other window because we were only going from negative 10 to 10 and negative 10 to 10. We couldn't see them. Now we can. So now where do I go to? How do I get out of this? Second mode. Get out of it. Now where? Stat. Where to? Calc. Good job. I push enter. I'm going to go down to calculate. Enter. And there it is. There's the equation of the line that best goes through those points. So I'm going to copy it down. It's y equals 3.14x plus 11.3. My correlation coefficient is 0.9999, basically. So what does that tell me about these points? They're really linear. Yeah, they're pretty good. So now I want to make sure, I just want to look at it. I always like to make sure. So I go to 3.14x plus 11.3. And if that is the correct line, it should go through those points pretty well. Let's hit graph. And there it is. Goes through them very well. Okay? Does that make sense? Yeah. Question?
It's not, all the points show, but the line's not creating everything's showing up.
But not your line?
Yeah, like dark correlation and all that's showing up.
Okay, then when you went to y equals, did you type in the line? You have to type it in. Yeah, that's probably it. Now, there is a way to make the calculator put it in there for you, and I'll show you that tomorrow. But I want you to practice this today because it's a lot to have it pop it in there for you. Okay, so we've got that down. If you get confused tonight on your homework, just go back and watch the video, and you can figure it out. All these videos are on Canvas. Let's go down here now. It says in exercises 1 through 3, use the graph to write an equation of the line and interpret the slope. So I'm going to find the equation of this line, and watch how quickly I can do this. I want to find the slope. All I do is I subtract the x's, and I get 1. And I subtract the y's, and I get 1. And then I subtract the x's, and I get 10. How can I go so quickly to this? Does anybody know how I came up with that so fast? Yeah, Jeff, how did I do that?
50 y-intercept.
Exactly. So I don't have to use any other formula because I already know the y-intercept. Now, another thing it asked me to do is interpret the slope. So I have to look at my y's. So the change in my y's was 1 compared to the number of text messages sent. So what that tells me is my cost is $1 for every 10 texts. Okay? Does that make sense how I came up with that? Oh.
Is the 50 just like the other one?
Yeah, the 50 would be, they charge you $50 even if you don't send any, just to have your cell phone. Questions on that? All right, let's do this one now. So this one's going to be a little bit more difficult. Maybe we would just want to use our calculator and have it come up with it for us. See how quickly you can do it. See if you can just put them in there. Got to be careful with the order. Okay, so here we go. You guys able to get that on your own? Did I type in a wrong number? Some of you are looking at me like that's not right.
You just did it so fast.
Oh, well.
I'm just shaking.
Okay, I want you to try to do it on your own. Go to Stat, Edit, and then you're just going to put in the points. Into L1, you're going to put in 10 and 20. Oh, and I did put it in wrong. Do you see what I did wrong? What did I do? What has to go with the 10? Go ahead.
You flipped the 95.
Yeah. Oops. So make sure you don't do that. Let's go and fix that. This should be the 85. That's what happens when you try to do it too quickly. And so we're going to go now stat calc, linear regression. Okay, so that was wrong. And I could have seen that was wrong. See, guys, here's what I should have done. When I see that, I look and I say, well, that doesn't even have a negative slope, so that can't be right. You see what I mean? I can see that. So it's going to have to be y equals just x plus 75. And that makes more sense, doesn't it? I can look at this and see the y-intercept's about 75 and the slope is 1. And now when it says interpret the slope, let's see, this is our grade and this is our completed assignment. So since it's a 1, that means for every, let's say it this way, our grade rises 1% for every completed assignment. So I'm looking here. I know that this has to be the y and this is the x. So for every, we go up 1% for every one completed assignment. Okay? Any questions over any of this? Do you feel like you can do the calculator on your own? Maybe. We can try another one if you want. Let me see if I have another one here. Let's just make one up. Let's see if you guys can come up with it. Let's just do -3, 6, and 4, 3. Use your calculator to come up with the equation for that line. If you get stuck, I'll be doing it up here. And when we get an answer like this, we're going to round to the nearest hundredth. We can try to math frac. I don't know if it'll do it though. No. It'll change things into fractions on certain screens, but not on this one. So we're just going to round our slope to the nearest hundredth and round our y-intercept to the nearest hundredth. Did anyone else get the same answer? Okay, good. Just want to make sure I was right on that. All right? Feel better about it now? If you need any help, I'll come around and help you individually. So your homework is on your assignment sheet.